I almost started without you. I'm getting busy spraying some more. It's like the never-ending thing that I do, is spraying baseboard with lacquer. What I have in here is for a different project. This is a different high build lacquer with a semi-gloss satin finish. And it's been in here for like 4 days. Haven't cleaned it. So for those of you who bought the Finsh Max Extra, I'm going to show you how I clean it and how the whole thing comes apart and how it's really simple to do. I was pouring the excess that I didn't use back into the can. Next step is I just restocked my lacquer thinner, and just going to pour some in this cup here. I know I didn't pour it right. It's all over the place. Screw it back on, shake it around, and then I'm going to go outside and spray it. And then I'll come back in and break it down and clean it more thoroughly. Finally starting to warm up in here. I got a fire raging in the room next door, and it's probably mid-70s in that room and only in the 60s in this room. This here is pretty much clean. Any lacquer that's still remaining in there is so diluted and thinned out that it's not going to have any effect on the next thing we spray. The next thing I'm going to do is just pop this off. Kind of, I think. You watching? There we go. You can see how it's a little nasty in there. That's got some old paint in there too. Yeah, look at that. Bad handyman. I should have been cleaning this better. Cleaning the inside cap of this off. And a lot of this stuff is really loose because it's had lacquer and lacquer thinner already on it. Now I'm just wiping this all out here. Trying to clean the threads also, just so that nothing falls down into this when you're screwing it on. Now it comes with this little cleaning tool for getting in there, and I'm just going for the loose stuff. Much cleaner, but I'm still going to blow it out with my air compressor. Really love having this air compressor coil that rolls itself back up attached to the ceiling. It looks pretty good. I'm going to take the tip apart here. That crucial to get clean, but I'm just going to toss them in there. This piece doesn't get dirty. Comes with this little wrench here, so I'm going to pull the trigger just so that the pin or the needle slides back, and then just give that a little twist there. The inside looks pretty clean. Now this stuff should be pretty clean because I just sprayed a whole bunch of lacquer thinner through it. Now this tip here, this is the blue tip, even though almost all the blue is worn off of it. But if you use it enough, you'll just know what size goes with which tip. Blue is the small one. And it's got this little wrench with different size openings for different size tips. Just break that loose. Don't drop it. Put that in there too. Just give you a close-up in there. What I'm going to do is get some lacquer thinner on a rag and wipe this whole area out. You can take this brush, get some lacquer thinner in it, and I'm going to shove it down in that hole, twist it around, try not to get it in my eyes. This is the wide spray pattern tip, or nozzle, whatever you want to call it. Gives you like a 10-inch spray. This thing is already pretty clean. I'm just going to stick that in there and wheel it around. last is the needle tip. Okay, I'm going to install the needle tip back on the threaded needle. Use the wrench just to snug it down a little bit. Spray tip goes on. Remember to give the trigger just a little bit of a squeeze. Snug that down. Next is this weird gizmo that I don't know what it does, but it's got springs on it. This, I believe, it gives when you detents when this thing spins around. That's its only purpose, is to give you some feedback on detents. So you snug that down, and then when you turn this, click, 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 click. So that's pretty darn clean. That just goes right in there like that, and you just squeeze it down in there, and you can turn it, you know, but I always have it set up just like that, so when the cup's on, it goes, sucks from the front. I have a more detailed video out on how to spray lacquer with this little HomeRite Finsh Max Extra, and I'll leave that link at the end of this video in the tile, the square that's going to be around my head. But I thought I'd give you a quick rundown in this video on how I do things. I've used this so many times that it can get a little chunky. There's like sawdust and stuff in there. So it usually stays in these storage lockers. I mix it up real good, and don't never let it freeze. And I will dilute it down or thin it out a little bit with lacquer thinner. Very precise measuring. After you spray 1 or 2 gallons of this stuff in small batches on a lot of projects, you will just be able to use the eyeball method when thinning out your lacquer. Because it, you know, 2 gallons goes a long ways when you're only spraying a tiny little bit at a time, and you've got multiple projects. You can see the different results, how the sprayer atomizes, the thickness of the type of lacquer that you're spraying. So when I spray in this room, as I've said in past videos, I've got a fan in that little window over there blowing in, and I have the garage door cracked, so it creates a gap about this much at the bottom, and it creates another gap at the top when the door comes back. So there's 2 ways for this lacquer to get out of this room. If you're interested in this HomeRite Finsh Max Extra, and a lot of people don't know what the Extra gets you, it gets you a bunch of different spray tips and 2 different fan width spray patterns. I'll leave the link in the first line of the description. Another thing, I'm just kind of repeating myself, but I always do a test spray on cardboard to see how much lacquer is coming out. Whoa. And then I'll adjust the dial. There we go. It's perfect. So now keep in mind, this is just the first coat, and it's acting as a sanding sealer. So I'll go over this with 220 and do a whole nother coat, but I just want to give you a close-up of what 1 coat on raw, this is 1 coat on raw red oak baseboard. And this will dry to a dull rubbed finish. No orange peel. Looks really good. Leave a comment and click that like button. Goodbye.